In our breaking news, the manhunt is over. 50 hours in, we can report that Robert Card, 40 years old, wanted for the murder of 18 people and the attempted murder of 13 more, is dead. NBC News reporting that he was found dead by a self-inflicted gunshot wound with a handgun found on him. Also, CNN reporting that he was found near the recycling center from which he had recently been fired. That confirmed by local officials tonight. And that recycling center is in Lisbon, which is right in the same community as Lewiston, where these murders happened at two separate locations, Schmenge's Bar and Grill and the Just-in-Time Recreation Center and Bowling Alley. I want to go right to Laura Ingle, our correspondent on the ground. Laura, I know that you felt the din of activity as they were leading up to this, but the surprise for me was they actually found the body at 7:45 tonight and didn't tell any of us.
Right. And you know, what we were doing tonight is we were driving around. We had a police scanner on, and we were trying to see if there was any locations that we could follow SWAT, which is what we were doing all day long. And it's how we found a team that went across the river and into the woods today, a very huge presence of U.S. Marshals, ATF, FBI. And we watched them go into the woods where it really seemed like there was going to be a break in the case, similar to what happened last night in Bowdoin. But nonetheless, they pulled back. And you're right, 7:45, they said in the press conference. And earlier tonight at 5 o'clock, there was a press conference that they said they were lifting that shelter in place and putting some minor restrictions on the hunting season that is starting tomorrow in areas that you would be allowed to hunt. So we had been trying to get some clarification from the state police saying, why are you lifting that order? I mean, we've been talking to residents all day long and all night last night. People are very worried. I mean, you're out at night, you hear a rustle in the leaves and a twig that breaks, and you're wondering, is that him down the street from me? It's been very unnerving to be here. So why they lifted it 2 hours, 45 minutes before the body was found, we just don't know. And now here we are in the 10 o'clock hour learning more details from that press conference, Ashleigh.
You know, really surprising. And to scramble all of these officials, including the governor, together so late at night, I'm just surprised they couldn't sort of have done that a couple of hours ago and given so much more relief to the people. And one of those people is going to join me in a moment, Steve Yanko, who's been under this, you know, this shelter-in-place order and has no idea where this killer is because he's, you know, he lives right in that area of the boat launch. I did find it interesting, Laura, when the PIO said that they called the family of the suspect. That was a critical set of phone calls to make, and that this family had been very cooperative. Right. Do we know if the family was sort of, did they play any part in getting these authorities to the right places to search? And then, of course, they come upon his body.
Right. Well, one can only imagine that they did share where he worked and maybe that work history that we've been hearing about. But, you know, they've really, you got to hand it to the investigators as we go through these unfortunate stories that they keep those details very close to the vest. We had not heard that they had been spending time with his family, at least not publicly, that they had acknowledged that. So we don't know about that. But in terms of where this location is, I'm coming to you from Lisbon Falls, and right behind me is the road where his body was found. And you've seen our coverage today of all of the activity that was at the boat ramp that's just a mile away with no indication of searches right around here. It was all right down the road. So it'll be interesting to find out more details about who exactly found the body and, you know, the timing now we know. But in terms of seeing a coroner's van or the ME, we haven't seen any of that, at least not yet.
I feel like I can hear helicopters behind you, and clearly they are not on search and recovery at this point with helos in the air. But I'm wondering if they're actually evacuating and you know, returning back to the bases from which they came, Boston and you know, parts far from the location where you are. They had to bring in so many assets. Do you see the assets leaving, or what is that chopper sound?
There is a chopper right above us, and somebody else just asked me about that. It's hard to say if that's law enforcement or a news helicopter, but the way it's hovering, it does feel like it is law enforcement. And, you know, I do want to mention what you just talked about there with all of the resources. We have been down at the command center in Lewiston for a better part of the evening, where you've got the Bearcats and all of the heavy equipment that was brought in, and so many members of law enforcement coming together, working together, and at any moment throughout the day and the night, we've been seeing cars screaming down the road with sirens on, and we followed them, as I mentioned, we went across the river, but all day long things would seem calm, and then all of a sudden a group would take off, including those Bearcats, and we would try and catch up with them where we got lucky sometimes and watch them search. But now all of those people are going to be going home, presumably. There is still work to be done. We know that this is going to be a crime scene here behind us. It is. And there's going to be a lot of work to be done through the weekend on that.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.